Welcome, citizens of the Imperium, to Household Heresy, a beginner's guide to Warhammer 40k. Through this Voxcast, we will be learning about the lore and history of the Warhammer 40k universe.
Our goal is to break down the lengthy and at times overwhelming story of Warhammer 40k as through me, a fresh-faced newbie to this massive universe.
I'm Commissar John Mark.
I'm Trooper Michelle.
And today we're going to be discussing the War in Heaven.
Part 2.
Alright, so do you remember what we kind of learned last time?
Don't get slurped.
Don't get slurped. There we go. That's all you need to know.
No, what happened last time was we learned about the Great Old Ones. No.
Yep.
Yes?
Yes.
Sorry, when I think Great Old Ones, I think Cthulhu.
Well, technically, so here's the confusion. The Great Old Ones, yes, that's Cthulhu. We learned about the Old Ones.
Oh, they weren't great. They were just old.
They probably were great. They just weren't the Great Old Ones.
So they're just Great Old Ones?
The Old Ones.
We just took the off it, now they're just the Old Ones.
The Old Ones, yeah.
Back in my day.
We learned about the Necrons.
We learned about the Necrons and...
Or the Necron tier.
Yeah.
They're now the Necrons. But...
Necron tier who were a mess.
Yep.
And the Catan.
Yep.
And how the Necron tier gave them bodies because that was their logic. And,
So,
they got slurped. They got soul slurped.
They got soul slurped. A couple of the things that I kind of forgot to talk about is, so one of the technologies, and the reason I bring this up is because it will kind of be something that plays into this, is something called the Webway, which were basically these sort of tunnels throughout the warp that the Old Ones would use to travel around. That's pretty much how they got most of their interstellar traveling done. So that was also a place where we'll get into that later. So the webways were their main technology of how to move around the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing that we kind of want...
I'd be shot by now if I was actually a trooper.
Yeah, probably. One of the other things that I also forgot to mention is when the Necron tier became the Necrons,
mm-hmm.
Not only did they get their souls slurped, but there was also command protocols that were in place for all of the sort of the Necron, the base Necron, and even actually the other Pharaons, with only the Silent King being...
What's a Pharaon?
Pharaon, that's their leaders.
Oh,
it's a play off of Pharaoh.
I remember.
It's a play off of Pharaoh.
I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah. So yeah, command protocols that only the Silent King could use. So
mm-hmm.
he could not only take control of his base people now,
mm-hmm.
but he also could take control and usurp the wills of his other Pharaons. This gave the Silent King and the Necron people...
the Silent King was like, this is bad.
It is bad.
Okay.
But these are the things that he kind of got out of the deal. It did give his people the unity that he kind of wanted, but at a really terrible cost.
Oh, because that's why they're kind of hive mind?
Yes.
But not as hive mind as the
Tyranids.
The bugs.
Yep. So, when we last left the Necron tier, they just got their chrome dip.
They went to war.
And so now they were ready to do the second war in heaven. So
how many wars in heaven are there?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. We're just gonna divide them into two. The Eldar actually acknowledge that there were many wars in heaven.
We don't believe the Eldar.
Yeah, filthy Xenos. So yeah, after their nice little chrome dip, the Necrons went out and waged war on the Old Ones once more. This time, things went a lot better for them.
No.
Partly because their new indestructible bodies, but also partly because not only are they more durable now.
My favorite characters.
The Old Ones?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I love their deep and rich characterization.
Right. Well, I think the idea is for them to be sort of mysterious and enigmatic.
My favorite character.
Sure. So not only were their bodies more durable, they didn't need food or water or any of that kind of stuff. So, supply lines didn't
I'm trying to speak really quietly while I listen.
You didn't need to have supply lines or anything like that. And on top of that, they had the Catan fighting alongside them.
Soul slurping.
Soul slurping as they went. The war just raged across the galaxy.
When I use that term so much, it's going to become nothing.
Sure. Stars were extinguished. Black holes consumed.
Delicious.
Whole sectors. It was a nightmare hellscape.
Delicious.
So
we're
now
like,
the old ones were pretty much forced back to a handful of worlds, and a lot of them hid in the webways because the one thing that the old ones had still on their side is that the warp and warp
energies... Did they
energies...
have warp travel and the other ones didn't?
Well, no, the warp and warp travels are complete anathema to the Catan. Not only can they damage that it's like the most painful experience that they could possibly have.
I have a question.
Okay.
What is the word you just used?
Anathema?
Yeah.
Means like anti. Anyways, so the only real weapon that the old ones had against the Catan was the warp. So
so the Catan can't use the warp, it hurts them.
They can't use
the Necrons?
The Necrons can't use the warp because they don't have souls anymore. Necrons are hurt by warp energy. So Necrons do not travel through the warp.
Okay.
They have to...
Fine, I'll accept that answer.
They have to... Well, again, they're also, like, undying, so they can take all the time they want.
I know, but I'll accept the answer that the warp hurts them over, they just can't use it.
Okay, sure. So, now that the old ones are kind of on the run and feeling desperate... They're hiding.
In the warp, some of them.
Yeah, and usually when the old ones would, tinker with life... They were very slow and patient and very careful, weighing all the odds, because they had...
I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, they had,
I feel like you've told me this before.
Yeah, millions of years to figure this stuff out. Now they were desperate, and so they started creating races not for the sheer enjoyment of life, but to use as weapons.
Okay.
A couple of these races were the Eldar.
Okay.
Which we know of. And
Space elves?
Yeah, a race of sort of brutal green skin known as the Crook.
Oh.
Yeah, who would later be the orcs.
Okay. I was waiting for some...
And also another race that they created...
The only important thing in the whole world.
Yeah.
Of war decay. Or the orcs.
Boys. Another race that they created that actually survived to the modern 40K
Kill the knob.
Are the Jakero, which are highly technologically advanced simian creatures.
What's a simian?
Simian like monkeys, apes, ape.
Oh wait,
creatures.
Are these humans?
No.
Oh.
No, they're literally gorilla ape aliens that make technology.
Okay, I just thought they were like early humans.
Speaking of which, one of these sort of more long-reaching plan, according to some sources in the lore, is some meddling with a hairless ape creature on a strange blue-green world in the...
That'll turn out great for them.
Yeah, it did.
Ah!
So
how'd the orcs things... What were they called before?
They were called the Quark.
Quark. Oh, they just got shortened to orc?
I guess. Quark, yeah. Now, the nice thing about the Eldar is they made the Eldar with a very strong connection to the warp. Mm-hmm. So strong, in fact, that they were actually able to shape and sculpt the energies of the warps into beings.
This feels like it goes bad for them.
Yeah.
I assume everything they do eventually just goes bad.
Well, considering the modern era, yeah, that's a pretty good bet. These were initially created as weapons, mm-hmm. but later would be their pantheon. They literally created their own pantheon.
Who did?
The Eldar.
Oh.
So, then they actively did this.
The Eldar were making... Oh, the thing they were making that were made of warp?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying that the old ones made the Eldar of warp. No, okay. So the old ones made the Eldar. The Eldar made their gods out of the warp. Because that doesn't go bad for you at all. Because we know the warp stays perfectly fine.
Yep.
Nothing bad happens to the warp.
Yep. In the case of the Quark, they made their race.
Quark.
Yeah. Quark.
That's
Quark.
But that's what I'm picturing because of the orc. You just open up one thing and it goes everywhere.
Sure. With the
Once
orcs,
you fill up that wine, you gotta drink it.
With the orcs, their creation was more of a. If the Eldar were a finely tuned precision blade, the orcs were a
Perfect
sledgehammer
in every way. There's no flaw. Except that they're all boys. That's the only flaw.
Well,
they don't have a gender, really.
Yeah,
they're fungus. They say boys and stuff, but yeah.
They're fungus.
I know, so I can't date one.
Anyways,
I love orcs.
Frick. Rather than the Eldar's strong connection with the warp, the orcs had kind of a more unique ability. They could create their own sort of warp-like space through their combined belief and like their purpose, their single purpose.
I think what's funny about orcs is like they're so not very smart, right? They're not really they're not known for their high intelligence. Actually,
I mean,
there's the boys, the one boys, but
the mech boys. Actually, all orcs. This is something else that they created in them. All orcs, from the moment that they are birthed, whatever, have an instinctual. It's not so much that they're not smart; it's that everything they do is based off of instinct because they don't educate each other because that would take away from smashing and looting.
Well, what I was trying to say,
everything that they know is all instinctual.
Yeah, I was just trying to say like they're not known for like their high intelligence, their processing, and all that, but they're known for like their ability just to. It's true, so it is. Yeah. Like it's like
and this particular effect and it's its own energy. Mm-hmm. It's called Wa energy.
Oh no, I love the Wa energy. I beat you with Wa energy.
It can essentially.
I am the champion of the Wa energy.
It can essentially rewrite reality in a sense. Yeah. So a cart that any mechanic anywhere would look at as like that'll never run. The orcs believe like a cart, like a car or something like that.
Oh, okay.
That an orc builds that
I was like, of course the car's not gonna run. Yeah. It's a car. It doesn't run. It rolls.
Any mechanic anywhere would say that will never run. A orc could climb in it, believe that it's going to run, and drive away. So it matters not. It's not so much matters how many orcs there are. It's that if an orc made it.
Oh.
So an orc can build something.
Are we talking about orcs right now?
Yes.
Are we supposed to be talking about orcs right now?
We are on a tangent. You are correct.
Okay. Well, it's just because you're talking about my favorite race. But
anyway.
I'm sorry. That's why I was like,
They, you had the Eldar who were much more elegant.
Yeah, we got this.
And you had the orcs that were much more
Yeah, we done this.
Brute force.
We talked about this already. What did they do with them?
And once they unleashed them on the galaxy.
Okay. Did they point them in the right direction?
I'm assuming.
No, defend us!
I'm assuming like
orcs are just like, hey, look, a planet.
In a lot of Eldar mythology, they talk about having conversations with the old ones and actually working with them. I'm assuming with the orcs, they just were like, beat that up. Because that's the other thing. They instilled in them. I probably
didn't even go point and say beat that up because no one could see you do that, by the way. And, but what it was just more like turning in the right direction and then like uncovering their eyes.
Yeah, basically. Because they really, again, the old ones were desperate at this point. Yeah. So they didn't really build these creatures with a lot of subtlety.
Yeah, I know.
So it was sort of like...
So what happened?
All we want you to do is fight. So and that's all they know how to do.
So what happened?
Well...
What happened next?
It actually started to work after...
Okay.
Yeah.
Even with these people that couldn't be destroyed and... Do orcs have souls?
Yes.
Okay. I guess they can use a warp, so yes.
Yes. They just use it a very weird way.
Yeah. Well, I just want to know if it was feeding the Catan.
Yeah, that is the... Well, one of the reasons why it was kind of working is because
delicious.
While the old ones were
I don't
working...
know if Orc Souls would be delicious.
Probably not.
Elder Souls might be.
Maybe. While the old ones were working on their new creations, the Catan, whether it is because they're...
The anti-old ones.
Kinda. Whether their food source was starting to run low because the Catan...
all the souls.
Yeah, the Catan and the Necrons were just tearing across the galaxy. Or just because, by nature, they're spiteful, malicious creatures. Or, there's an Eldar legend that states that the Laughing God tricked the Catan into fighting each other. Regardless, they started fighting with each other.
The Laughing God, the Laughing God,
It is the Eldar God, the one that still survived, and is worshipped by the Harlequins. We'll get into that later.
Right. I know I understand the names and the references, but I don't know, the lore. Yeah. So, I know stuff names, so that's about it.
Right. So,
kinda. Dude,
the Catan start...
God?
Yes. Continue. They have two gods.
No. I'm distracting.
So the Catan start to fight with each other. The orcs are orking. The Eldar are
prissing,
doing whatever they do. And things start to look like they might turn around.
Out?
Yeah, turn around for the old ones. However,
how's the orcs working out for them?
It's not. It's not necessarily that. All of this dabbling in the warp, using it very, I would say, recklessly, as well as the large amount of distress and destruction. Because remember,
the warp is emotion.
Yeah, it's a reflection of the material. So there's wars going on, and it starts to change.
There's a race of pure destruction and chaos now, and then there's the Eldar taking things out of the warp and making them into gods, and
just making stuff.
I'd say there'd be a lot of emotion going on, but the Necrons don't feel emotion.
They don't, no.
So it's not their emotion.
It's not, no. But
the Catan probably can, right?
They've got no connection to the warp. Remember?
Oh yeah, so they have no emotion. But they still. Anyway, I just think it's okay.
So all of this starts to change the warp.
Cheerio, chap.
And the thing that ultimately spells the doom for the old ones begins to emerge.
They didn't upgrade their subscription.
Yes. The Enslavers.
What is the Enslavers?
So the Enslavers, a lot of the lore says...
I've never even heard of these.
No, you probably haven't. They're pretty obscure. So within the warp...
When your name is the Enslavers, of course you're obscure. You don't have any other name.
Even back in the more stable time of the warp was not uninhabited.
Yeah, I know, you've said that.
And so because of all of the turmoil and stuff that was going on within the warp, a lot of those inhabitants started to change as well. Thus gives rise to the Enslavers. They are a warp creature, but unlike, say, demons that are composed purely of warp essence and cannot survive outside the warp, the Enslavers are slightly different. There's actually a lot of debate on whether they are demons or if they're Xenos. Because they're kind of both.
Like a Xenos that got stuck in the warp.
So what this will be fun for you. What an Enslaver does
is it enslaves.
Well, yes. It will find a mind, specifically a psyker mind.
Wasp things?
No, those are Psychmuin.
Okay.
Those are horrifying. We're not going to talk about them. These are equally horrifying in different ways. So they will seek out a mind, specifically, preferably a untrained psyker's mind.
Okay.
And through cracks and tears within reality, they will enthrall that person. And then the change begins. Okay. Their bodies will swell and bloat and soon turn into a warp gate. Once this happens, just thousands of enslavers start pouring out, enslaving the populace of a world, draining them of any and all of their psychic essences, killing them.
Isn't the warp just full of psychic essences, though?
Yeah, but this is different. This is tastier.
40K. Culinary school.
Yeah, I guess.
It's all about the taste.
And then they'll move on to the next world.
All about the taste.
And they'll start the process again. Enslaving the populace, draining them, and moving on. Once under...
What do they look like?
There's a few varying descriptions of it.
They're just doors.
One describes them as this slightly like almost like looks almost like a gourd with like tentacles.
What?
Another one kind of describes them as being like I said, a wasp-like creature. But I really think that those depictions are confusing the enslavers with the Psyche-Muon, which are a completely different warp. Yeah, basically.
VeggieTales.
Regardless of how they look, and once under enslavers' control.
By a gourd.
Yeah, once under the enslavers' control, the victim is completely helpless. And as a bonus to the horror,
you're fully aware.
Yeah. So, a victim of an enslaver, of an enslaver will do whatever the slaver wills, regardless of how horrific or self-destructive.
I feel like there should be easier ways of self-maintaining.
Well, we'll get to that here in a minute.
So where did they come from? Where did they hit first?
It's actually not clear.
So they just something happened and the enslavers came.
Yep.
And did they wipe out the old ones? Did they possess the old ones?
Well, pretty much.
Really?
It's so a lot of the timelines are fragmented because again, this part of the lore is very fragmented because
it's old and
it's old. And I think Games Workshop wants it that way. One of the
Game Workshop.
One of the things that also led to the initial destruction of the old ones is a Catan known as the Burning One was able to breach their webway. So the one place that they were safe.
How did he do that? He can't go in there.
No one knows, but he did it.
He cheated. He got a soul and he didn't eat it. He wore it as a hat and he was able to get in there.
Sure. All right.
He just coated himself in souls.
You know what? It makes about as much sense as anything else. The other thing that doesn't make sense is, so the lore states that he breached the webway and Necrons poured in, but
if he breached it in the way where maybe he just made a hole so they didn't have to pass through it at all.
Yeah, maybe.
It's almost like a rip in time.
And to be fair, like the webway, though, goes through the warp and is like kind of made of warp stuff, it is sort of separate from the warp.
Oh.
And you'll that'll play in a little bit later when we talk about the Emperor.
Do the Necrons even remember why they hate the old ones?
At this point, probably not.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, like the only ones that really have any cognizances are the Theyrons. Yeah. So
the Shadow Realm.
So with the renewed with the Necrons on one side, the enslavers on the other side, and the whole galaxy on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it pretty much
when the warp went.
Yeah, this is when the warp went.
Okay.
That's the technical term of that.
I just know the warp sucks now in the modern. I can't our future, modern future.
Yeah.
Modern far future.
So with them fighting a war on both sides, it wasn't long before, the old ones were all but wiped out. It is debatable on how many old ones survived. Some lore says that a group of them left the Milky Way galaxy to do something somewhere else.
Does all 40K take place in the Milky Way galaxy?
Yes. Other sources say that only one.
Other galaxies?
Yes. Only one escaped the Milky Way galaxy. Regardless.
And that's the Emperor.
No. One or many left.
Well, that's my theory.
To tinker with life there and hopefully come back. It is highly suggested that it was the old ones that may have made the Tyranids.
Huh. They're not very good at making things anymore. Yeah. Tyranids aren't that much better than the Necrons. They're just bug Necrons.
Yeah, the theory is
my theory is one survived.
Yeah.
And he changed himself and warped himself and put himself inside a human woman and became the Emperor.
That is one. Okay, we'll get there.
That's my
eventually. Because we're going to talk about, at some point, the birth of the Emperor.
I know. You've mentioned it once to me, and it was like, what?
So,
wasn't he a miraculous conception?
No.
Oh, I thought he was.
That's
Jesus. I get them confused.
Good job.
I don't, by the way, at all.
So now with the old ones,
Jesus is cooler.
The old ones defeated, and the Catan still squabbling amongst themselves for what souls remain, and the enslavers pretty much burning themselves out. The Silent King has been, all this time, he's been biding his time, and now is the time. Now is the time to seek his revenge.
On the Catan?
Yeah. So
the Catan
honestly did not see this coming. They're
so high and mighty.
They thought that the Necrons were, whether they didn't think that they were a threat or thought that the Necrons were wholly and completely under their control, they did not know that in secret, weapons were being fashioned.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at this point that the Silent King unleashed those weapons. Weapons of such immense power, they could not kill the Catan, but they shattered them, binding their disparate essences into these Catan shards, which they then locked away in devices known as Tesseract Labyrinths.
Okay.
These are devices that can pretty much infinitely fold space in on itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be like a box, small box.
I thought you could play some of these guys in the 40K game.
You can. In battle, in the modern time, well, the lore states that during in times of desperations, the Necron will sometimes bring out one of these shards.
Ah.
So now the Necrons, they've destroyed the Catan. The galaxy is on fire, and
the warp's messed up.
So
the warp's always been messed up? Like, since, like, when the humans come along, the warp was already kind of messed up?
Yes.
Okay, so the humans didn't cause that. It's not their fault. Hey, look, it's not their fault!
We'll get there.
Oh, I was just kind of happy for them for a moment. I thought something wasn't their fault.
Yeah. Something's not her fault for once. Now, so like I said, the galaxy is on fire, and none but the strongest of the old ones' creations are still around. However, for the Necrons,
what are the orcs doing?
Yeah, for the Necrons,
they're still going.
Yeah, they're still going because they didn't put a turn off switch.
Oh, they're just an Energizer Bunny put for destruction.
Yep. The Silent King kind of surveyed what destruction had been wrought. Realized that they did not have anywhere near the capacity to prosecute a war against the survivors because the Eldar, they were able to hide real good from the enslavers. And the orcs, well, they're just the green tide.
Like, you could probably... Do orcs have psychers?
Yes, kind of.
Okay. Because, like, even if the enslavers were like, yeah, we're going to enslave these orcs, there's, like, the other orcs were like, yay, more orcs to hit, more things to hit! So it's just like this... Yeah,
it doesn't work real well.
And then you kill all the orcs, but they come back, because they're fungus.
Yep. And actually, orc, when it dies, releases...
Spores.
So many spores.
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
Tell me more about orc spores.
Nope. So, the Silent King... enacts one last, I guess, act. He orders all of his people to convert their vast cities into massive tomb complexes.
Okay.
And orders all of them...
Are they pyramids?
Sure. I think. And orders all of them to sleep for millennia.
Okay.
Hundreds and millions of years.
Maybe everything will fix itself.
Yeah. And that's actually kind of what he was planning. He was thinking that the other, like the Eldar, because the Eldar was still gunning for him.
I know, but he's like, well, Eldar, you're pretty like orderly and chill, like in that kind of way. Maybe you can fix things. Bye.
Well, his plan was basically maybe it's like The Eldar, they're like so in tune with the warp, and the warp is like super crazy. They'll just kill each other. It's fine. We'll go to sleep and wake up, millions of years later, and everything will be
covered in orcs.
Yeah, we could reconquer the galaxy. And so they did.
Wake up and orc infestation. So
all of the Necrons went to sleep except for one, the Silent King.
He stayed awake.
His last act.
That's a long time.
Yeah. His last act was to disable the command protocols, destroying them. So technically, each Necron is its own person, but they're still soulless. So take that what you will.
So they're just robots that aren't connected to each other.
Yeah. And he
no more remote access.
He left the galaxy, placing himself in self-imposed exile, trying to atone for what he had done to his people. That's basically the end of at least the as far as we know.
Silent King's the most interesting character.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I do wish that the lore would go more into like some of his backstory. He's out there
somewhere moping.
Well, he came back.
Oh, he came back.
Yeah,
okay. Came back. Don't spoiler it.
So yeah, that is the war in heaven.
We got there. We did it.
That is
why we went on a roundabout path, but we made it.
That is why everything. Well, that's mostly why everything is bad. Next time we're gonna explore how things got worse.
I mean, it's 40K. It always gets worse.
Yeah. Blech. So
nothing happy happens in 40K. No one's happy. There's no happiness in 40K.
I would disagree.
The only people who are happy are the ones living in sin.
Yeah, I would disagree. The orcs are incredibly happy.
Yes, that's why I like the orcs.
But
there's no happy people who aren't pure instinct, so they don't have time to be anything else. If you have time to think, you have time to be depressed, apparently. Which is actually pretty... Yeah. Anyway. I'm enlightened.
So thank you all for watching and listening to Household Heresy. If you liked what you heard...
Chaos episode, but not without the chaos. Yeah. I'm just a bundle of pure chaos this episode. She's just nothing but chaos. I am a chaos god.
Thanks for watching / listening. If you like what you saw, don't forget to rate us on whatever platform you are hearing this.
Subscribe, hit the bell button. That's the traditional way of saying things.
All of that stuff.
If you want.
So, with that being said,
I guess.
Yeah. With all that being said, I'm John Mark.
And I'm Michelle.
And thanks for watching Household Heresy. Go kids. This may have been a mistake.
Orc boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? Orc boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?